Hi, and welcome back to Down the Line, a series of presentations for small and rural churches to get themselves organized to get online. There are some tips and tricks that we'll be talking about, but right now in this series we're talking about the four major components of a good broadcasting system. We've talked about audio, about video, and about graphics, and now we're going to talk about the piece that pulls it all together, the broadcast system itself. So, stay tuned and here we go. So here we are, we're at the final component of the four components that we're putting together to do this wonderful thing we call online broadcasting. We've talked about the audio and how we can bring the audio and blend it in with our system. We've talked about the graphics, the pictures, images, texts, and so on that we want to present to both the people in the sanctuary as well as those that are tuning in. We've looked at video and the kinds of cameras that we might need to consider and how they will help to enhance the service itself. And now we're going to talk about the one thing that I think is really important here, and that's the how we tie all this together into what we call the broadcast system. So let's have a look at this diagram here. As you can see, we've got the audio and the video and the graphics are all coming in through some kind of device which will connect all three of them together. And one way of being able to do this is to use a computer with some software on it to be able to pull all of that stuff together and manage the broadcast as it's going out. And you'll also notice that once that's set up, you can then use the laptop or the computer to push out the end result, the program itself, to your audience. And we're going to talk a little bit more about this when we get into the actual design of the system. But for now, let's leave it at that. Okay, so we already know that the three components we've already talked about, the video, the graphics, and the audio, are all integral parts of the finality of the broadcast. And what we need to do now is to find ways of bringing all of that together and have it then pushed out to your audience out there in internet land. There's two basic types of setups that we can use for this. One would be a built-for-purpose type of system, which would include devices which are already built to be able to handle the integration of all of this and then to pump it out to your favorite streaming service. The other is to use what a lot of you I think are using right now, is a computer in which you've connected your cameras and your audio, and you may use that same computer to have your graphics brought up, and then to play a particular piece of software like Open Broadcasting System or OBS to be able to bring all of the stuff together and to do switching of scenes and so on and so forth. So that's something that a lot of people that I've talked to are using. And then the piece that we need to talk about then is then where are you going to put all of this out to so other people can see it. Now I've talked to people and there's basically three different streaming services that they have been using. The one which I think is most obvious is YouTube, and YouTube has been a real good workhorse for streaming and is used by a lot of churches. It's very simple to use. It's very easy to set up, and once you've got it set up in your broadcasting service collection of objects, be it a computer, laptop, or special built-to-purpose devices, it's one and done, and then all you have to do is push a button and you're on the air. It's really that simple, and we'll talk more of that in detail later on. But I want to just talk a little bit about systems that are built out of software, and then systems that have a combination of software and built-to-purpose hardware. Now, with a software design, system, that is where you're using a computer or two computers to be able to run your broadcasting service. One of the biggest issues that you're going to have to deal with is both the speed and the size of the processor which is in your computers. I would highly recommend, if you're going to go with that route, you're going to have to consider getting what I would call gamer computers, or high-end, high-capacity type of computers. Gamer computers are very fast and reliable computers, but they come at a price. And if you're looking at a standard computer versus a gaming computer, you could be talking about costs that are double or triple a standard computer to do this. Also, even with the high-speed gaming computers, you do also have the problem that if you're running too many processes at once, you could have problems within your system. Now, I know that churches have used this type of system before, and that's fine. But if I was to recommend, if you're coming to ask my advice on this, I would go with the second option, which is where you buy built-to-purpose equipment that will do the switching for your audio, switching for your video, connecting you to your stream, and then going from there to recording or whatever you need to do. That will reduce the load that has to go on your computer, and your computer can now then be used for other things like the inputs for your graphics or for checking on the outgoing stream. Okay, so we talked about YouTube. That's really easy. Some of you are using Facebook, and that is also a very good streaming service to use. And I think that you'll find that if you have a Facebook page already, you've got everything ready there now to do streaming. It's pretty much the same ease of setting up as with YouTube, and you'll find that once you've got it set up, it just will work that way. The third one, which makes me shudder, is people are using Zoom, are still using Zoom for their services. Now, for me, the thing I don't like about Zoom is it's a closed system, which means that only those people, either those people that are invited or those people who have the Zoom account to get onto it, can see it. It doesn't allow for people who are, say, outside of your church community, who are looking around to find a service to watch on a Sunday morning. So if they don't know that you're on Zoom, or they don't know the components that you have for getting to Zoom, they won't get there. Now, what we found in our situation is we've used YouTube, and we get a lot of visits from people that we don't even know, or from different parts of the region or the province or Canada or even the world. We're getting people coming on to our site. And that's because it's open and it's available, and people can browse through all of the different church productions that are going on and decide on which one or which ones people want to visit. I know some of the people in our church, well, they go online and they go to different churches after they come to the service. And so they're seen out there by other churches. And I think outreach, if you're thinking about outreach in your church, it's probably better to go with something where people can actually go and find it easily. So bear that in mind when you're sitting down to start with your design on your system. Now that we've had a look at these components, I mean, there's a lot more we can talk about. As we go into the design of the system, we'll look at all of the different little bits and pieces that you're going to have to consider when you're putting these together. And I also want you to think about the other aspect, not the technical, but the altruistic and the outreach issues that you might want to get involved with. And so think about who your audience is, or who you want your audience to be, and that will help you decide which is going to be the best broadcasting system setup that you're going to want to have. So that's about all I'm going to talk about now. We're going to start then into the technical aspects, and that is we're going to start looking at the broadcast system setup itself, look at the different components and see what makes sense in terms of what you need when you go to pull this together. And also we'll talk a little bit about at least budgeting and pricing for this, so that you can get a good idea of what it's going to cost you to put this together. And I'll present several different scenarios in that aspect, because in some of the churches I've worked with, budgets have been very good, and in some it's very, very tiny. So we'll have a look at how we can put together a reasonable broadcasting service for you, and we'll see if we can't get you something that will work. By the way, if you want to have any advice or technical assistance in the setup of your system, please feel free to call out to us. Leave a note on the comments down below, and I'll be very happy to connect up with you, and we'll talk more. If you're liking what you're seeing, please give us a like on the button. So, and if you haven't thought of it yet, please subscribe to our channel and click on the notification bell. And I'll be very happy to get back to you to help with anything I can. So until next time, I'm Dave Clemis, and this has been Down the Line.